Hello, everybody. Welcome to Talk About House. I'm Todd.
I'm Juana.
Okay, today we're going to talk about Elon Musk and his prediction that home prices are going to plunge. Elon is a crash bro.
Okay, so Elon must have a much better crystal ball than I have.
His didn't break probably. His is, first of all, his crystal ball is fully electric and it's self-driving.
It is, but when it started out, it was murderous.
It probably was. It was pretty bad. We do have 2 Teslas. The first thing I thought when I read this article, this is the headline, Elon Musk warns housing prices are set to plunge and says commercial real estate is in meltdown. The first thing I thought is we're selling the Teslas. And we're selling all of our Tesla stock.
All 2 shares.
No, we have more than 2 shares. We're selling them all. But, it's interesting because this whole article, it's actually a whole article. You can read the whole article. But what I did is I went back and found all the actual tweets. So we're going to go through all the tweets because there's some interesting people that were tweeting in this whole sort of Twitter massive thing about real estate.
Okay. So those of you who think that Todd had entirely too much time on his hands today looking through Twitter for all these tweets, raise your hand. Okay, just checking.
Well, they're in a thread, so they're easy to find as you go through. Okay. So this is the tweet, Elon Musk. Now he's replying to David Sachs, who was talking about commercial real estate, where David Sachs basically said, hey, like 500 billion of commercial real estate is due next year. Like it's office space, mm-hmm. right? But office, and remember, commercial is broken into 3 things. Mm-hmm. It's office, retail, industrial.
Right.
Office space is where there's a problem.
Right, and not in every market. So this is what we want to be very clear. David Sachs happens to be in San Francisco, and yes, we know San Francisco has a lot of issues with office space. There are other places in the country where office space isn't the greatest thing to hold right now, but not every place is like that. So kind of take that with a grain of salt. Continue.
Okay. So Elon Musk decided to add on the end, home values next. Now remember, Elon knows a lot about rockets. He knows a lot about cars, electric cars. He knows about digging holes and putting implants in your brain.
And he knows about robots.
He does not know anything about real estate. He knows nothing about real estate because the very first response to him that had the most number of views or whatever, Glenn Kelman. Juana, who's this Glenn Kelman guy?
He's the Reddit guy.
No.
Redfin? I knew it was something with an R.
Redfin. Redfin. He's the CEO of Redfin. And this is his response. But the loss in demand for commercial real estate, and I hate that they're using commercial real estate, they just need to say office space, okay, is what's driving demand for residential real estate. So it says people who work from home need more space at home. Sales volume is down because inventory is down. Today, home prices increase for a second straight month. Remember, these are brand new tweets. This like literally all just happened because we just all got, over the last couple of days, we've just been all getting the March data, even though we should actually have the April data by now. We really don't have it. But usually, I don't know why it takes a whole month. But okay, so the CEO of Redfin disagrees with Elon Musk. I think the CEO of Redfin is right on this. Talk about that a little, Juana. But we've talked about this on videos before. People are working from home. They want more space. Mm-hmm. There's more households for them because the 4 programming guys who live together in San Francisco now live in 4 separate places.
Right. So commercial and residential are completely different things. This is where they kind of converge. In the case of office space, we learned from the pandemic that all of a sudden people don't have to necessarily be in an office all the time. A lot of people have gone back to the office. To Elon's point, his people had to go back to the office. A lot of people have, but not everybody. And when you're looking at a broad swath of the commercial space when it comes to office space, you still have a lot of businesses that people either have not had to go to the office or businesses have chosen to not have their people in the office either full-time or even part-time. They've chosen to pare down the amount of office space they have for economy's sake, maybe for productivity's sake, for a lot of reasons. So all those people that are working from home, these are the people that are still looking for houses, whether they found them already or there are some still looking, and they're looking for a better situation that they had. They may not be looking for houses in the same market where they were before because now they can work remotely. They're looking maybe for more space because now they want a home office. So there are all kinds of reasons why people are still interested in purchasing real estate as far as residential real estate.
My son is a software engineer, and he told me, I had a call, I talked to him today, and he said, yeah, my company doesn't care where I am. I just can work from wherever. So he doesn't have to be in, the headquarters is like Minneapolis, and the office he works out of is in Austin, but he doesn't live in either of those cities. So he can pretty much do whatever he wants. Okay, here was the next tweet that was significant. At Cernovich, not sure who he is. Right now, homeowners with sub 3, which means sub 3% mortgages, are paying off fixed term debt with inflated dollars. Wages aren't tracking, some will say, so it's imperfect. But it's also not 2006 to 2008, where people pulled home equity out to buy a quote unquote investment property, then losing it all. Okay, a couple things about this. First of all, it wasn't 06 to 8, it was 04 to 06 that they were doing this. 06 to 8 had already melted down and started dropping. Nobody was pulling out equity in 07 to buy a house because home values were already starting to tank substantially. The next thing that's interesting about this is at the very bottom, this is a Twitter thing. Elon had all of the location changed to Earth. So everybody's tweets say they're from Earth, which is pretty interesting. I wonder when the first tweet that'll say from Mars or the moon or something. That's going to happen. So I guarantee you the first anything that SpaceX puts a human on the moon or Mars, they will tweet and it'll say the moon or Mars.
Yes.
But what do you think about that? That the last crash was just like this guy said, people said, oh, I've got 150,000 equity. I'm going to take a HELOC and use that to buy 2 more investment properties. And then they were fully 100% leveraged. They had no equity. And whereas today we have the opposite. Everybody's got a ton of equity.
Yeah, I think that crash was not so far in the past that people have forgotten it. And I think that lesson is still fresh in people's minds. And I don't see that happening, certainly not on the scale that it happened at that point.
Okay. Here's the next one. Zach Milburn. I think he's a startup guy, but he's got some weird thing on his profile. It says, Zach says no, completely different category. So he's responding directly to Elon. A third of U.S. homes are paid off. It's actually over 40%, so it's more than a third.
I thought it was like 37%, but
no,
anyway.
It's over 40. It was 38 and change in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, and many, if not most, have fixed rates sub 3.5%. Oh, you're thinking of the number of ones purchased each year.
No, but that's okay.
Okay. Then he says, add to this, we have an oversupply of office, and there's a massive undersupply of homes. That's really I think the thing that would, if I could sum up the last 3 years, is I would say the balance of equilibrium between use of office and demand for home. Those two things, office use plummet, demand for home skyrocketed. That's literally has driven everything.
Right, and that's why you're seeing, some office spaces are being converted to other uses.
Yeah, but it's going to take a long time because, you get cities like San Francisco, and they're putting a lot of restrictions on the conversions.
Right, but you can't use San Francisco as the hallmark for every city.
New York had a thing where they want to convert 8,000. They want to convert 8,000 office space to 8,000 more residential, which is like 0.001% of the city population of New York City.
Right, but it's something.
Okay.
And the more people can see that this is something that works and is profitable, then the more investors will consider that.
Okay. I grabbed this one because I thought it was pretty funny. It absolutely is fake news, especially when your Twitter handle is Robbie Rob. Okay? Except for the fact that 33% of residential properties are owned by institutional investors who are exiting their portfolios. Far more inventory than necessary to reset the price market. When people see 25% dips in value, they'll also fear sell. So what this guy is saying is, he's starting with the false premise that a third of the entire residential U.S. so that's like 45 million homes are owned by institutional investors. That's not even close. It's not close, first of all, right?
No, it isn't. Are they owned by non-owner occupants? Yes.
33% of residential properties are owned by people like us.
Right.
We own rental houses.
Right.
What he's saying is that because you have the 60-something% of all homes that are owned by owner occupants, what this guy is alluding is that every institutional investor owns all the other homes and they're dumping them all.
Right. And that's not the case. Institutional investors do own a good chunk of single-family homes. However, people like us and like you own rental properties. There are lots of us who own one or two rental properties, and we can't be discounted. It's the institutional investors that are the minority, and we are in the majority. That's not always going to be the case, but that is the case right now.
What was interesting about this was that most of the people responding to him were basically slapping him around a little bit. Because I'm like, okay, if they're exiting their portfolios, where the hell are all the listings? Mm-hmm. Like, why don't I have a bunch of listings in the MLS? We don't see them. Okay, here was another response. Daniel Solomon, who is he works in retail in Florida. Retail is one of the three parts of commercial, right? And he says, Elon Musk, maybe in certain markets and in office space, not in retail. Can I forward you all the calls from prospects looking to lease space in South Florida I received today on Memorial Day? Mm-hmm. So, and this obviously is the tweet's a couple days old. So he's saying not where he is and certainly not in retail.
Right. So you can't paint all commercial with the same brush, right? Because there are different classes of homes. The same way you can't paint all residential with the same brush because they're not all single family homes.
By reading, Twitter's very interesting because by reading these things, the Robbie Rob guy, his opinion it would be like a run in the stock market. Once you saw something tanking, you would panic sell. But you can sell a stock by clicking on a button. You can't panic sell your house. And then, oh my God, let's sell the house that we have a 2.5% interest rate on and our monthly payment's $1,100 so we can go rent and pay $2,200 a month. Like, that would be stupid. And if you want to do that, give us a call. We will have no problem selling your house for you. And if you're in another market, we can definitely find an agent through Referral Cloud to help you do that. Okay. But so that the thing I got from this was that people, especially Elon Musk, because we made some Tesla videos. We actually have some Tesla videos from our previous videos that we made, and people like to generalize. They like, okay, commercial would somehow spread like a disease. Like if your tree gets a fungus, it's going to end up on the bushes, right? It's going to end up getting on your, hibiscus or whatever, right? But does it really work? Like, does commercial bring down residential? Does that even make sense?
No. I mean, short answer is no. And also it depends on what's happening in that area. So for example, let me give you an example. If you've got a whole bunch of office buildings and for whatever reason they all come up vacant and all those people lived in that same neighborhood, and now that business has moved to a different state, and they've offered to move their employees with them. Are those homes going to sell? Well, a lot of them will. So yes, that will happen. But that's such a unique event.
Right.
Most of the time, that's not what happens. Most of the time, commercial office space does a lot of different things. They'll downsize. They'll move across town. They'll do something else. So those people who own homes are not going to just up and sell those homes just because their office has moved 2 miles away.
I think the Redfin guy summed it up. I disagree with him on a bunch of stuff, but I think what he said summed it up. These people still work for the same companies. The companies just don't make them go into an office. So there's no need for this office. Somewhere there is a parallel dimension where, like, we never built this much office space. Like, it was just kind of, people just said, why are we spending money to build a space to force you to come to work? If your work doesn't have to be done and you shouldn't be here. Like, it probably, office space is probably super expensive. And then they said, you know what? Any job that can be done without being here, don't be here. Just do it from your house.
Office space was also a way to demonstrate how well your company was doing. It was about status. It was about a lot of different things. And companies have decided that they are going to be much more fiscally responsible and not spend money on things that either don't generate revenue or that they simply don't need. So it is more complex than that.
Well, another thing too is, in a technological world, you don't have to physically be in the office to collaborate with somebody on a project. We're building Referral Cloud, and nobody is even in the same city, much less country. We basically have, people in 3 or 4 different countries at different times doing something, designing something, building an app, or, doing customer support, or doing stuff in completely different places. And the fact that we're not all sitting in an office in cubicles, wasting time, having pizza day or doing whatever, right? Now, for when we did the bank-owned homes, we had everyone in the office pretty much, except for the 4 field people. And then we had somebody who had a baby and couldn't come right back. So they did BPOs from home, basically, which didn't last very long because productivity went way down. But the bottom line is, we had the people in the office because they needed literally to be able to talk to each other, say, hey, these were the receipts for the stuff that we paid, put these in the system, or here's the BPO I just did, put it in, do whatever. I think today, if we're doing it, we might be able to be a little more remote. I know people that have transaction coordinators now that are completely offshore. Some of them are not even in the U.S.
Right. So part of it just has to do with a different culture. I think people through the pandemic have learned to be more self-disciplined, and they require less direct supervision. So it's a shift in culture. It's a shift in work environment. So some things changed the way we do things, I think, for the better as far as the pandemic goes.
Right. I agree. I think being told go home, and then people said, oh, hey, this isn't that bad. I'm still doing the same work. I just saved a commute. And, companies said, hey, wait a minute. Why are we paying $45,000 a month for this super expensive office space in San Francisco when our company's not doing any worse and people aren't coming to the office? Let's downside to 5,000 square feet or something and just do all our meetings via Zoom or whatever. Right. And just have core people that have to be in office. Like, I don't know who would have to be in the office for a tech company, but
Right. So, there are jobs that you do have to be in the office for.
Like Amazon, right? Because if you work at Amazon I think in the data centers, you have to be in there because they're more secure. So you have to be physically in them. For a lot of certain jobs, administrator jobs and things, you can remotely log in, but I think they have a lot of that blocked off, whitelisted type thing where only certain IPs can come in. And then obviously, like if you're in some place like, imagine this, the FedEx hub where they sort all the boxes in Memphis, right? That's probably, 5,000 people in this huge buildings all at, between midnight and 5 a.m.
Right, but that's
sorting boxes.
But that's not office space. That's warehouse space.
That's warehouse space. But I'm just saying there are times when you need to get people together.
Right.
But offices, what do offices do? Offices are banks, and we're not talking about retail locations. They're investment companies, they're tech companies, they're insurance companies.
Right. So a lot of those have gotten smaller, and they're looking at getting smaller still because they figured out that it's a cost savings to them. They're also trying to be environmentally friendly, so that means that they want to have a smaller footprint, less commuting for their workers, all kinds of things like that. They also are doing more electronically, so because they're not pushing paper anymore, they're not having to share documents physically, they're doing them electronically. That also means that they don't have to be next to each other anymore. So there are a lot of different things that way. But this may go down as one of those tweets that Mr. Musk has tweeted that missed the mark.
He needs to focus less on what's happening in the residential real estate market and more on getting my full self-driving to drive without me having to be in the car. So I can just send the car home or send it somewhere without me physically sitting in it. Like it could drop me off at the airport and just drive itself home. Because right now it can drive home, but I've got to be sitting in the seat. It won't drive unless I'm physically there.
Well, I'm sure Mr. Musk is taking notes right now.
Okay. All right.
All right. So what do you think? Does this hold any water for you? Do you think that the demise of office space bodes poorly for residential real estate? What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments, please. Please be nice to one another in the comments. Subscribe, hit the notification bell, like the video, share the video, and we'll see you on the next video. Bye.
Bye.